got our phone rolling, and we're gonna go live to Facebook. All right, we're live.
I'm Krow.
I'm Peter, and this is P&K Q&A. And Krow, what is our theme going to be for this show today? Oh, it's for November the 15th.
I think we can try our best to try to stay around what judgment of a planet means, and what's the purpose of a magisterial sun, and why they're out in the universes and what their function is. So we'll try to stay on topic.
Okay, and we can start with a prayer this time?
Yeah, a little voice in my head said, don't fucking forget.
Okay. Purpose, function, and magisterial. Okay, I'm going to write that down. And then function of magisterial sun.
You think I would have already queued this up.
Okay.
So, what I want. So, I said we were going to go through the different forms of the Father's Prayer. So, there's, 1, 2, 3, at least 4 of them. One that was, one that Dalmatia made up. One that, Dalmatia, I know they had one at Salem,
Yeah. Okay,
and
so
then the
that
Son of
one, right?
Man.
Okay, yeah.
I think there was one for the garden too. They had a Father's Prayer.
I think you're correct. I
Yeah.
do not remember what it was, though.
No, neither can I, but
Okay.
I did copy and paste them,
Okay.
so that I would keep track of them. Okay. So, I labeled this one Ancient Version. So, okay, this looks like the one that's from Dalmatia. Okay, this was given to the humans of that period, and to help them make a connection to the source, and to the idea of worshiping the one God, the monotheic religion, and so that they wouldn't be worshiping stupid shit like fire and trees and rocks and shit like that, because that's just a waste of our energy. And I mean, you can use the elements.
You might as well worship what's the source of all of that.
Yeah, maybe we'll get into that afterwards. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's read the prayer first. Okay. The Father of all, whose Son we honor, look upon us with favor. Deliver us from the fear of all save you. Make us a pleasure to our divine teachers, and forever put truth on our lips. Deliver us from violence and anger. Give us respect for our elders and that which belongs to our neighbors. Give us this season green pastures and fruitful flocks to gladden our hearts. We pray for the hastening of the coming of the promised uplifted, and we would do your will on this world as others do on worlds beyond. Okay, interesting.
Yes.
Okay. And also, it seems to kind of have a Ten Commandment vibe to it as well. So, now you're talking about primitive man. Okay, so reading and writing is just starting to become a thing. And but they're using symbols, scratches. I mean, that's really all they could come up with, because all they have is sticks and stones to use as materials. So, plus there's shit going on in their environment that they don't understand. I mean, at this point in human history, it would be unusual for any human to have died of a natural death. It's just, lightning striking, and humans were making their homes in the trees at that time, and so that they can, not get eaten by wild animals. Once man discovered, not so much discovered fire, but became proficient at it, then that's when man started staying on the ground. And then once the colored races came along, the different attributes of the human psyche get divided. And so, and then that's all meant to come back together in a new and novel way. See, this is how creation evolves the universe. There is no forced evolution. Okay? Things are basically, all the ingredients are put together and then allowed to simmer along, with a little bit of help here and there, usually more to do with the physical aspects of a person or the species, than it would the personality or spiritual aspects. Okay. But in the end, it's all geared towards a spiritual experience. This is why we have, like, different chemicals in our body do different things. Deliver us from fear, save you. Yeah, shit's going on everywhere. You just, scared shitless all the time. Make us a pleasure to our divine teachers, and forever put truth on our lips. Okay, in Dalmatia, you got to understand, the humans were interacting with the planetary prince's staff. So they were teaching them. This is where the stories of, like, Thoth and Osiris, being like teachers.
The Egyptian god, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the Egyptian stuff, I mean, it's much, much older than people think. Much older. And so they basically, they wanted to please their teachers. They wanted, they wanted to be able to learn well. So they were, so this is where they're being taught agriculture, seeds that were brought with them. This is where they were doing animal husbandry, domesticating animals, and over generations. And this shit was still going on right up to the time of Abraham, where they were, domesticating animals, and animal husbandry was a big thing. So having animals was a big thing, and this is what the people in Dalmatia were learning. And according to the Urantia book, we were just getting to metal when the Luciferian rebellion broke out and brought everything to a screaming halt. So, deliver us from violence and anger. Man was still trying to grasp control of his emotions and moving himself above the animals. Give us respect for our elders. You see, in the animal kingdom, the old ones are just meant to go off and die. I mean, we've all heard legends of the elephant graveyard. The elephants seem to know when when it's time for them to go off and die. No, they don't know when they're going to die. They go there to die because the herd don't want them there anymore. They're slowing down the herd, and the herd is everything. So if you're slowing down the herd, then you're putting everybody in danger. So the old ones go off to the elephant graveyard, and they sit and they will themselves to die. Pretty fucked up. Yeah. And that so this was getting humans to take care of their elderly. We're not fucking animals. We don't fucking put our old people out to pasture to die. We take care of them. We talk with them. We listen to them. They have their stories. They have their wisdom. And, so, and they're supposed to teach. I always fucking laugh at people when they become grandparents. Man, I've heard this said. It almost made me fucking sick to hear it. Oh, I'm gonna fucking spoil that kid so bad. And it's kind of like payback's a bitch to their own kids. How fucked is that? I've heard it said more than once. I mean, it's like, oh, it's gonna be their turn now. And so they're like, I'm gonna spoil my grandkid. It's like, when did it become okay for the elders to fucking spoil the children? I mean, you read fucking societies back a long time ago. The elders' job was to teach the young ones so that they didn't fuck up like they did. I mean, the young ones are going to fuck up anyways. I mean, we're all kids. But if we I don't know, maybe if we had elders that held themselves to a standard and lived an example and actually taught us something, then, things I think would be different. I mean, you spent time with your grandparents. I mean, your parents probably thought very differently from what your grandfather thought.
Yes.
And the experience that you had with your grandfather helped shape your values and your opinions. Same thing with my grandfather. Hanging out with him when I was a kid. But but he wasn't much of he wasn't any better of a parent than my parents were. I mean, shit. I mean, everybody did their best, not their fault. But I just look back on it and I'm just like, wow. Nobody knew what the fuck they were doing. And quite frankly, neither did I. I mean, I only made one decision when my kids were born, and that is, I'm not going to fucking lie to them. That's because, I mean, I just always hated when people fucking lied to me as a kid. Yeah. I hated it. It's like, fuck you, I know what's going on. So I never lied to my kids. And when shit fucking got real, I'd just be like, you know what? I can't talk about that with you yet. Talk to me when you're 14. There'll be you'll understand the reasons why then. Sorry, it's a shitty answer, but that's what you get. And my kids accepted that. And
it seemed to I've not had as much interaction with children as you had, obviously. But when I do, I try to speak to them at as high a level as I think they can. Not just
yes. Why are you fucking going down to their level when they should be striving to come up?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you talk at a higher level to them. Okay, they may not understand it, but at least it gives them something to reach for. I don't know what that fucking word was, but I'm going to find out. I mean, I'm an adult. I have my tools, right? As a kid, it might be, oh, man, how did you do that? Oh, I learned this in university. You could learn this, too, if you're in university. So then that kid has something in their head, a goal for later on in life. Wow, I met this smart guy and he learned everything in university. Now you planted a seed. You don't have no idea what that kid's going to do, but the seed of wanting to learn more is now in there.
Yes.
So that's
very powerful.
Very powerful. It's like, holy shit. I mean, when kids are told that fucking, this is as good as it gets for you, very few kids go beyond that. I mean, you get the odd stubborn one that's like, fuck you, I'm going to do it. But I digress, I guess. Anger, violence, respect our elders. Yeah, don't be just fucking, yeah. Yeah, there are some politicians out there that do believe that when you are over the age of 75, your life is not worth living. If you go do your research on the internet, you'll find out which politician I'm talking about, and yeah, that's your leader, so-called leader, according to the mainstream media. We still have question marks over all of that stuff, and we'll let that play out. Hey, you want to talk a little bit about that, maybe? I guess it does fit in with everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I should wrap this up.
Yeah. Okay, we'll finish. Yeah.
And yeah, don't be stealing from your neighbors. And that's just a good idea, because I mean, if you're stealing shit from your neighbors, well, chances are you're going to get a fucking club up the back of the head. You know, so that causes problems. That causes tribal strife. Now there's no unity, so it's hard to bring everybody together. Give us this season green pastures, fruitful flocks, gladden our hearts. Well, shit, yeah. I mean, that goes without saying. And the hastening of the coming promised uplifted. That's talking about Adam and Eve. Okay? These people were being told stories by the prince's staff about Adam and Eve and what it meant. This, again, putting seeds in the racial consciousness, racial memory of the planet. And then people will want this. And that actually kind of ties back into today, too. And we would do your will on this world as others do on other worlds beyond. So they're being told stories about other planets. They're being told
there's other
you're not alone.
Yeah,
other
that
planets.
there's other groups, cultures like you that are out there.
Again, talking to children
because
at a high level.
They didn't know what they were talking about.
They didn't know what they're talking about, but they're talking to children at a high level. What is that going to want those children to do? Really? Those are our brothers and sisters out there in spirit? Wow. How can we go see them? Mm-hmm. Well, you can learn this technique. You can learn that technique. Or you could build this, or you could build that. And, so it might have even started out that they would be astroplaning and visiting their brothers and sisters on other planets. And then after a while, it's like, you know what? I want to shake your hand in person. No different than what we do on the internet. You could have a conversation back and forth to somebody else on the other side of the world, and you'll build this relationship solid as a rock. Sooner or later, you're going to want to see that person in person.
Yes, you're going to want to see them in person. Mm-hmm.
Of course you are. Well, imagine a whole planet like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I want to come to your planet. How can I do that? Well, you got to build this type of machine. You got to get, so slowly people would strive to a higher level. And this is actually, on a normal planet, there is no capitalism. Because on a planet that is marching towards light and life without a Luciferian rebellion interruption, they would just progress naturally through the stages. So what it would be is, okay, like I said, right? Everybody has a goal on the planet. And that goal is to go out to the stars to visit their spiritual brothers and sisters. So you do not need capitalism for that. People are going to do it because it's something that's in their racial consciousness, and they will want to do it without any thought of reward. Their reward is being put in the history books as the person that did this shit. You see, different type of societies altogether. But on this planet, I mean, everybody's out for themselves, obviously. Capitalism is the only system that works. Really, seriously, it is the only system that could work on this planet. And look how long it took us to figure that shit out. And when you really sit down and think about it, I would like to hear arguments contrary, because capitalism fits well with our nature. Because once a human has a goal for something, or they just want something, there's not a hell of a lot that stands in our way to get it.
Nothing's going to stop them,
No,
no.
so if your goal is a fucking house, fast car, or maybe you just want chicks, well, or whatever, it doesn't even matter. We all know what it takes to get that. Money. So you got to figure out a way to make money. You can do it illegally, you can do it legally. The biggest thing with capitalism, and it's the same thing with any game that you play. You have to have rules, and you have to have your referees, and there has to be a penalty box that means something, not like it is right now. Penalty box means fuck all in the capitalist system that we have right now. But if it actually meant something, a lot of fucking shit that we're dealing with in our society would go away.
Yeah. Oh, are you done with the analyzing the prayer? Or
we're done with analyzing the prayer.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Okay.
Yeah, I guess we segued on.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So, and this all comes back around to what's going on the planet and the judgment that we're looking at. Is because we have to find a system that will allow us to move forward into light and life. A system that people have confidence in.
Yes.
Without a system that people have confidence in, we're done in 20 years. We're completely done. Because, there'll be there's going to be people that's going to disagree with what the New World Order wants to do with this planet. And they will fight back. And we might not have nuclear weapons or anything like that, but, we've got pitchforks and knives, and those are pretty effective. Once you get organized, and they could have all the technology in the world, but it doesn't matter. It's Ewoks against the Empire. And you just crawl in under the underbrush, sabotage all their fucking equipment, and away you go. This is how they've been stopping the people from destroying the rainforest. People are doing this shit every day. And once you cripple a piece of equipment, it could be weeks before that equipment gets back up.
Yeah.
Depending on what piece you crippled. Throw a little bit of dirt into a hydraulic pump, and that's the end of that. So we wanted to talk about judgment.
Yeah.
So I personally think there's a magisterial. Well, not anymore. I think he's bailed off the planet now. Well, maybe. It just all depends. But sooner or later, he's going to reveal. If he stayed on the planet, he's going to reveal himself when the time is right. And before before you came over, I was going through the Urantia book, and I was like, something just said to me, there was 2 of them on this planet.
2 magisterial sons.
Yeah.
At the same time.
At the same time.
Okay.
Which is...
That usually does not happen.
No, it's very unusual. And one was born of the flesh, and the other one was manifested. Okay. Well, like, oh.
Okay.
That's interesting as fuck. And so maybe one of them left. And the other
side
stayed.
Is a magisterial son more often born of the flesh, or is he more often manifested?
It's about 50-50.
Oh, really? Okay, because I can see reasons for both.
Yeah, it depends on the planet and depends on the mission. And they generally only do 7 missions on the worlds of time and space, mainly so that their brothers will have their turn to do their missions on the worlds of time and space. So they generally get 7 missions, and that is considered enough time for them to have learned and to understand the worlds of time and space. The thing is about magisterial sons, they're also Avalon sons, which also and the Michaels are also Avalon sons. So they're kind of like magisterial sons are kind of like brothers with like true brothers with the creator sons. Like they're just one step away from being creator sons themselves.
Okay. And creator son, just so we know, is like Jesus. Basically, is the 2,000 years ago. He's somebody called Michael of Nebadon who incarnates as Jesus Christ as his 7th bestowal on the planet. So that's,
and that
he's the ruler of this local universe, the creator son, and then these magisterial sons are slightly different but very close to that.
yeah, and they're basically their purpose is to adjudicate a planet when the planet is approaching its epoch. Which we've already gone through our epoch. That was the whole 2012 thing. You know, it doesn't like it. It doesn't make any difference here on this physical plane. I mean, the energies become slightly different and what have you. It's more of a chronicle reset. It's the way time works.
It's like driving across a state line, and when my mother was a child, and kind of when I was younger too, when we were driving up, say from here to Oklahoma, when we crossed, say, from Nebraska into South Dakota or something, I said, well, it looks the same. And she said, yeah, I used to think that it would ought to look a bit different when we cross the state line, but no, it's the same kind of it. After a little while, it does. You can tell. It's South Dakota is slightly different from Nebraska, but not right at the state line. So the exception was North Dakota, Montana. Drive North Dakota and then into Montana. It's like, okay, yeah, now we're in Montana. I can see that.
That's crazy.
But anyway,
and that's pretty much the way epochs work. It's like you don't notice when you cross the line,
like
but as you go down the road, you're like, oh, we're in a different time.
So like, 20 New Year's Eve, 2020 to 2021. Okay, well, 1 second different, but then give it a few weeks or months, and then this is a different year.
Yeah, and 2020 is different for sure. And so the epoch happened. We don't notice it, and the magisterial son was asked to stay his judgment. Because he showed up on time. He showed up in 1991. And he had from 91 to 2012 to adjudicate this planet. That's like, damn near, that's like 20 years. And so 20 years to adjudicate a planet. Does his traveling around the planet. You don't adjudicate a planet from up high. And our free will is absolute in the Father's universes, absolute. So this is why the magisterial son has to incarnate among us, because I mean, what is the Father going to do? Show up his big eye in the sky and just be like, "Okay, you fuckers," what? Everybody's going to fucking drop to their knees and worship. In like a second, if they don't fucking drop dead of a heart attack. So the magisterial son has to quietly go amongst the peoples of the planet. He can speak every fucking language, knows every culture, So I mean, it's like nothing to him. He could walk from Arctic to Antarctica and go through every culture all the way down, and he would fit in perfectly with them. He would be pale in the north because he wasn't getting enough sun. He would gain a tan as he got closer to the equator, so he would just look like everybody else down there. And he knows how to dress like them, and he can talk like them. But everybody that meets him knows that he's a son of God. They all know this. I mean, they just take one look at him and they're just like, I don't know who you are, but Jesus. That's all they can do. And he traveled with hardly anything. And what? Nobody was going to attack him. Are you fucking kidding? They were rendered helpless upon just looking at him. And so he traveled back and forth all around the world, interacting with cultures. And he found out that for the most part, we're pretty good. We're pretty good. But we have a decision to make. Because of all the fuckiness that went on this planet and the invasions of the oh yeah, and that's why this is the time to take everything out. Say, Jesus, son of Michael, asked the magisterial son to stay his judgment, even when the epoch happened. And the magisterial son, he asked the father. He was like, well, Michael asked. And the father was like, you know what Michael wants, Michael gets. But it's up to you. And of course the magisterial son, he knows Michael, and he's like, you know what, buddy, father said, if Michael wants it, Michael can have it. It's up to you, it's up to me. You know what, I agree with the father. If Michael wants it, Michael can have it. And that's how it works on down the line. And so, Michael got his 8 years?
Yeah.
He got his 8 years.
2012 to 2020, yeah, 8 years.
So he got his 8 years, and I guess the biggest thing that happened in 2012, I guess this is what's running through my mind, okay? Because we talked about on the Halloween specials about John Dee opening essentially the pits of hell, right, and inviting the demons in, okay? And so what happened on 2012? It's an epoch. Planets get cleaned up on epochs. And I remember reading different articles at that time and different books, and a lot of people had expressed their amazement at how many angelic spirits were on this planet. There were a lot of them, apparently. Well, that's what gathers up the souls and takes them off planet, grabs the sleeping survivors. So I was like, that's interesting. And then of course there were articles about how the remote viewers, they could not see past 2012. That was a big one. It's just like they just said they just hit a wall of fog. There was nothing. They couldn't see beyond it. And I thought, that's interesting. And then, after 2012, things got confusing. And I'm thinking to myself, why did things get confusing? Well, things got confusing because, and this is why this has been the perfect time to take out the enemy. And I said this, I started saying this a couple of years ago. And I was like, because I kept on thinking to myself, why are these people fucking up? They have been clever as fuck for the last 300, 400, 500 years. They have been clever, and they have been on schedule. And I'm thinking to myself, what changed? And everything changed after 2012. Obama was in office. Everything was going smooth. The New World Order had their people in place. Everything was going good. And, HRC was poised to to come in afterwards. In 2016, it was all mapped out perfect, but they seemed lost. after 2012. They seem to get lost. They seem to, and then I was like, why do these people seem lost? Why do they not seem like they have direction? They were smarter than this. And I think it's because all those demons that Dee let in got taken off planet at that time. And they were adjudicated. And so that is where the magisterial son, that was the extent of his judication at the turn of the epoch.
Okay.
Michael asked him to stay his adjudication of the humans. But everything else was adjudicated. The sleeping survivors were adjudicated. Those that qualify for spiritual survival moved on. The ones that did not were, regulated to oblivion. The universe recycles everything. Sorry if you believe in hell. Hey, go ahead. I guess it's as good a description as ever, but it's oblivion, and you get recycled back into the universe.
If you had a few good ideas, they'll be put in the universal library, but anything that's not useful gets recycled.
Yes, that is exactly right. Mm-hmm. Anything that's useful is saved. Anything that isn't, see you later. So I guess you'll be remembered by, for some of your good, I guess if you're a horrible person, you don't believe anything, you'll be remembered for the few good things that might have been accomplished, but outside of that, everything else will be forgotten.
Yeah.
And so the only ones that will remember will be the ones that were close to you, if they're survivors. Yeah. And so that is basically the extent of your library of life. But you take and you do you live a noble life. You develop a solid foundation for a character, and be and serve your community. Qualify for soul survival. The rest of the shit you'll learn. You'll learn it upon awakening. The biggest thing is don't be scared. Just chill. Go with it. There's nothing you could do anyway, so you might as well just go with it.
Enjoy that. What is it Q says? Enjoy the show.
Yeah, and that's why Q tells us to enjoy the show, because there's not a fucking thing we can do.
Yeah, I guess not really.
There isn't. This is why he says it's like a movie. There is nothing you can do. We're helpless. And and it's just like, just chill. Just grab some popcorn, grab your joint, chill, and watch the show, because there's not, but this is the best part.
Try to keep a positive attitude, of course,
but this is the part that I love the most. We only half listened to Q. We're out there, we're doing our research, we're tweeting, we're letting people know things, we're doing shit like this, Yeah, we're pretty helpless, but you know what? We're still not accepting that.
Yeah, right.
I guess that's the point. I mean, we might be told that, there's not a hell of a lot you can do. You know what? There's still that portion of hell of a lot that we can do. And I think that has been the part that has amazed me the most through all of this, is how many people have stepped up on social media. And of course a lot of people have been knocked down, a lot, but a lot of people stepped up.
Yep.
And the other thing that I found curious is the wave, the movement of not so much Christianity, but of acknowledging Jesus, the Son of Man, people saying, no, he is my Savior. I mean, things like that. But I'm not talking about people that are like hardcore church addicts. Most of these people can't even be bothered walking into a church. But yet they say it. openly. That, you know what? It's like, Jesus is my Lord, fuck you. And that has been a huge wave all across the planet. And that I have found curious. It's like, well, what started that? Actually, I noticed that it actually, I started like feeling, well, I think I said it before, my suspicions about Q. And about the time that Q started posting, that is when I started feeling this Son of Man vibe happening in the ether. And that's, and you know, when Q said, you will be surprised at who is communicating with you here.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I'm just like, and I mean, the first thing that did pop in my head was Son of Man. And then I was like, no fucking way. And so, I mean, and, and so I'd just be like, well, what else do we got? I mean, I just entertained the idea that it might be Julian Assange. That might have been possible. Like, the whole prison thing is just a ruse. I don't know. I mean, if the poor bastard, I mean, if he's sitting in solitary confinement, I mean, I hope to fuck he's praying every day, because that's the only thing that's going to help him survive. I mean, holy shit. But then, I didn't want to entertain that because that's just too fantastic. Other people on the internet have said JFK Jr., and I'm just kind of like, oh, please give me a fucking break, but okay. We'll put that on the list, even though it's, yeah, right. What else? Some people think it's Trump himself. I'm just like, it's like he's got a country to run.
He's a little busy to be doing this as well as everything else.
Yeah, I mean,
like
I am
being president.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's the guy's pretty intelligent, but person can only stretch themselves so thin. Let's see, who else became? Some people entertained the thought that it was Durham, and I was like, no. Who else? And we all agree that it is military intelligence. We all agree that it's that, for sure. And this is why, and this is how these people are stupid. Okay, leading up to 2012, they seemed to have it all together. Everything was planned perfectly. And then after 2012, it seemed like human egos started to get involved in the plan, and not supernatural egos.
Okay, I can see that.
Like before. All through, coming up through the 20th century, you can see supernatural egos at work. Personalities pulling the strings in the background. Because you see the consistency.
Yes.
In events. It was all consistent. After 2012, what the fuck happened? It just went nuts. It's like all of this fucking Pizzagate stuff started coming out. Why the fuck did all that suddenly come out? I mean, these guys have been diddling fucking kids fucking since the 90s. And then all of a fucking sudden, after 2012, all this shit starts surfacing. We can thank the information age for it, by the way, because these people were stupid. They're... Oh, yeah, and that's the other thing. It's the way the internet was going.
Yeah.
The internet was being fairly controlled up to 2012.
Sure.
And then after 2012, it seemed to not be under control anymore. There was a brief period between from right around 2012, maybe 2011, on up to like maybe 2014, to where the internet was almost a free-for-all. And, and the thought of censoring anybody wasn't there. But then after 2014, 2015, the soft censoring started.
Yeah.
And now we're into fucking 2020, and now it's fucking in your face, suck my dick censoring. And I'm just like, what the fuck? What happened to free speech? Yeah. No, you're not allowed that anymore. What happened to deciding what content I want to consume? I mean, if I want to consume porno, well, who the fuck is the government to tell me that I can't? I mean, as long as fucking shit is made in a legally,
Yeah.
I mean, put it on the fucking internet. You better make goddamn good and sure it was, everybody is of adult consenting age. Everybody was paid properly. There was no fucking blackmailing bullshit. I mean, I don't give a fuck what people do to make money. I really don't, so long as it's not harming anybody else. Really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I think I've said this before. It's like, it's not the drug dealers that piss me off. They're actually serving a purpose in society. It's the fucking pushers that I think should be fucking ran over by a bus a couple of times, because they're the ones that are fucking on the edges of playgrounds being like, hey kid, I'll give you a free sample. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
But a dealer is someone that I fucking jump in my car and I fucking drive to his house.
Yeah.
And before I get to his house, I might text and say, are you home? Or maybe I'll do that before I jump in the car. But a dealer is somebody that I will travel to go see, pick up what I want, and leave. As a free adult, thinking adult, it is my option to go and do this. And he's sitting in his house. He ain't fucking going nowhere. Except to restock. I mean, to me, it's like, what the fuck's wrong with that? I mean, government's pissed because they're not getting their taxes, but I mean, other than that, he's like, technically, he's running a business.
Yeah.
He just doesn't pay taxes on it because, well, because, government has decided that certain plants that fucking God put on this planet are illegal. And we're not allowed to have them. It's like, what the fuck's that? Now, there are poisonous plants, and guess what? You learn about this shit. If at least I learned it in school, but I doubt if school does it now. But I mean, I learned about poison oak in school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then fucking tell me about a cocaine plant. Oh yeah, a cocaine plant. Well, if you chew it, it actually makes it takes away the altitude sickness in high altitudes, and it gives you that little I mean, it does give you a little burst of it gives you that and it gives you stamina. Okay, so you can chew on a cocoa leaf all day. It'll give you stamina and it'll help you with any altitude sickness. Great stuff. I was chewing it when I was in South America. Awesome stuff. Now, if you want to take and fucking distill it with a bunch of chemicals, it's not really a cocaine plant anymore, is it? Now, if the government wants to outlaw that process and not the plant, that makes perfect sense to me. Okay? Because the plant itself is harmless. It's the process it goes through that makes it harmful.
Sure.
So let's make the process illegal. If you're caught fucking with cocoa plants and these chemicals in this type of facility, well, it's pretty obvious what you're planning on doing. You're arrested. Oh, not for the cocaine leaves, but because you had the fucking burners, the acetone, the gasoline, whatever the fuck else you need, right, to do it all. So yeah, so this is the other foolishness that has taken place, and I don't understand how we ended up in this position, but okay, I better get back on track, shouldn't I?
Yeah, where were we?
Where were we?
Everything seemed to be going great from a cosmic whatever ego standpoint until about 2012, and then it all started to unravel.
Yeah, it all fucking unraveled, and you can see this by how incompetent the people became because their ego. Because the thing is about a Luciferian philosophy and a satanic philosophy. They both have the same thing going on. Is the strong control the weak. And so, in order to be strong in that kind of environment, you also, you have to have information. Information is what gives you strength. I mean, watch The Matrix. I mean, when they went and met with the Merovingi. Information is everything. And so, they already knew this, but they had a central area before 2012 where information was taken care of. Okay? But then after 2012, when they lost their supernatural masters, they did what Satanists and Luciferians always do. They started stabbing each other in the back and started taking care of themselves. And since information gives you power, and power is what they want, well, what did HRC do? She had her own servers in her own house and had everything redirected through her servers. The only reason you would want to do that is for control and power. Because, I mean, other than that, it's just highly irregular and highly illegal to do something like that. So that's one thing right there. So that was her way, because she's the princess, by the way. And so she wanted to maintain power, and that's how she decided she was going to do it. But then when everything caught up to her in 2016, when WikiLeaks released all those emails, then fucking evidence had to be destroyed very, very quickly. And when she destroyed evidence, well, the backups were already under somebody else's control. Yeah. And so...
Yep. When you're doing anything remotely over the internet, there is never more than just... There is never less than just one or two copies of something. There are going to be... It's going to be elsewhere as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, all you got to do is just look at a typical map of how information travels across the internet. You know how many fucking pieces, how many servers? Even this video.
Yeah.
This video is jumping around on a lot of servers.
Yeah.
And
if you're watching here in the city, well, it's maybe going across one or two. If you're watching in, let's say Europe, how many servers are this video gonna go through before you see it?
A lot.
And if you're watching it live, and then if you're watching it in another part of the world in 6 months, you go to my account and pick up this video, watch it. How many servers has it been on then?
It could be stored on a server in Iceland, and in the future, somebody else in Canada accesses it. It's got to jump from Iceland to North America. Yeah. And then finally to wherever. So, yeah, You're right. It's a lot of traveling. And so they did not understand. That was the other thing. They did not understand the internet. The supernatural beings did. And, they helped inspire a lot of the programming languages.
But a lot of the human puppets did, especially because most of the people we're dealing with are over 40, certainly, 50, 60.
Yeah.
And they didn't grow up with it, really. Most of them didn't, and they didn't understand fully.
No, because they were only taught...
what was involved.
They were only taught front-end user.
Yeah.
They didn't learn back-end stuff. I mean, I was in college for 2 years learning back-end stuff. There's a lot going on back there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, busy person. The only thing that you're going to be exposed to is front end, and
it's basically a tool for you that you're using for
with little or no understanding how it really works.
Yep.
And that was their downfall. They didn't have two fucking clues. They thought delete meant delete. It's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't even mean delete on your hard drive. It just means, delete means that it deleted the file that would tell the computer where that piece of information is. And if you restore that file that has the code in it that says that it's on sector such and such, on dish whatever, blah blah bullshit, then it knows where to go for that information. Outside of that, that sector's wide open for rewriting, and nothing gets rewritten over quickly. I mean, especially if you got like a fucking hard drive in your computer that's like a fucking terabyte or something.
Yep.
You know, and most computers like 500 megabytes, that's half a terabyte. And, you know, that's a lot of fucking space. And even if you write over a piece of information on a hard drive, it doesn't even quite destroy it all. Because the computer is lazy. It's only going to change the ones and zeros that it needs. Everything else is just going to fucking just sit there and just do nothing. And, you know, and so, you know, you have a clever program, you strip off the top layer, and you can look at all the ones and zeros down below. That didn't get changed. Yeah, there's going to be gaps, but you write a good program, and that program will fill the gaps for you, and next thing you know, you're rendering a fucking piece of video that fucking was supposedly erased and written over. It, you know, boom, you got it. And you only need a couple of, and you know, if you want to do something in court, devastating, or even blackmail, you only need like, you know, 2 or 3 good frames. You don't need the whole fucking clip. Yeah. And that's good enough. Oh, man. So, yeah, these people fucked up big time. They got bold is what it was. They had from 2012 when they lost their masters to about up to about 2016. 4 years. It did not take long for these arrogant fuckers to turn on each other and fucking start patting themselves on the back for their cleverness. And then to have it all fucking pulled out from underneath them in the 2016. And that's the other thing people, nobody thinks about. HRC did not challenge the 2016 election. I don't remember any investigations. I don't remember any court challenges.
Not so much, no, I guess not.
No. Why? What would an investigation do? Reveal the cheating? I think we're going to find out that even in 2016, it was not that close of a race. They just couldn't cheat hard enough. But they were prepared to cheat hard for Biden.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. Judgment came, and we survived it, and because we're still here. And the gift of discernment has been poured out on the planet. Now, the planet has been stressed right to the fucking hilt for 2020.
Yes.
We have been stressed hard. And it's and now the gift of discernment has been poured out on the planet. People are looking for truth, and they're being like scrutinizing the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
We've been honing our discernment skills for the last year, at least.
I was going to say, many of us have gotten a chance to preview or work on, you know, discernment for a while, and to coming up and so on. So yeah, over this past year for sure, it's we've had plenty of opportunities to use discernment. Let's say, say that.
Yes, and those of us who've been like looking at this longer, we've had a chance to practice our discernment longer.
Right. Yes.
So that does. So with people already skeptical and then you have the spirit of discernment poured out, that skepticism goes away. Because then people are going to see the bullshit, know that they see it, and they're doing something about it.
Yeah.
That's what's going on right now. And you're going to see it start to escalate more and more.
Because we had, everybody said going into 2020 that the country was divided, polarized, etc. And to some extent, that was true. We almost needed another dimension or an upgrade or some kind of thing. The existing structure or mechanism could no longer handle what was going on, is the feeling I get looking back.
Yes, because the truth was right in front of our eyes, but yet there was a lot of people that couldn't see it.
Yes.
They had no discernment. And now, what I am witnessing, now that Joe has started talking about his plans, there are a lot of Democrats that have buyer's remorse. Are you seeing that too?
Not so much yet, but I can imagine.
I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
They've got buyer's remorse. Some of them aren't vocal about it, but because they're scared. But they've got buyer's remorse. They see what they voted for. Anything but Trump. Not thinking what the alternative was. It was just anything but Trump. Yeah. That is just brainwash and zero discernment. And now it's in their face. What they really want to do. And what they want to do, and I don't even figure this shit out, but I mean, it's heading for a communist agenda is what it is. The Trudeau government had announced this week that any business that accepted the stimulus money either has to pay it back or hand over a certain percentage of their business to the government.
What, the Canadian stimulus payments?
If that's not soft communism, I don't know what is. Yeah. I mean, isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
In a free society, that's the religion of Baal right there. I mean, the religion of Baal wasn't so much about a fight against religion. It was also a fight against an ideology. A communist ideology at that. See, the Hebrews, they believed that in the ownership of land and the ownership of property. The Baal religion professed that you didn't really own anything; everything was Baal. Everything belonged to Baal. Everything. And the Hebrews were like not having any of that. It's like, no, I claim this land. This is my family's land. My father's buried over in that cave. Fuck you. We've been on this land for like 12 generations. We're not giving it up to Baal. We worship Yahweh, the God of the mountain. The God on high. See, now you know why Yahweh got chosen as a name for the one and only God, is because it was the closest description to the eternal Father.
God of the mountain, yeah.
It was the closest description to the eternal Father that humans had at that time. So, again, these higher personalities, they use what's in front of them.
And they're good at it.
And they're good at it. I mean, they're really good at fucking polishing shit. I mean, when you really think about it, you're like, wow, yeah, I guess you can polish a turd. And then, but now it's time for that turd to be cracked open and see if there's a jewel inside. Something better, something that is going to help us spiritually evolve and move forward. That's what all of this is all about too. It's about
The next step of our spiritual evolution.
yeah, it really is the next step. I mean, now people are not so much religious about Jesus as they are about faithfulness towards his teachings.
Yeah.
That is where a lot of people are at. It's like, you know, I don't fucking read the Bible. Fuck the Bible. But I like a lot of Jesus's ideas, and I will follow those principles. But don't give me none of that hocus pocus, fucking ceremonial bullshit. I got neither the time nor the patience for it. I mean, to me, it's like worship your eternal Father, and honor your Creator Son in His universe. I mean, you know, 'cause, I mean, He's our Lord. It's His universe. He runs her. You know. So, you know, but you gotta know the difference. You know, adoration for your Lord, worship for your Father. Simple as that. What else do we got going on this crazy planet right now? It's yeah, you're gonna see people like the discernment. People are gonna start. I mean, people are already seeing it. But you gotta wake up the whole world. The whole planet has to wake up, because this is about going forward into light and life. People wonder why things are taking so long and why it's frustrating. Gotta let the gift of discernment do its work.
Yeah.
That's what's going on right now. It's not like the gift, the spirit of truth. This is not a spirit that moves through men's hearts. This is a gift. It gets poured out on the planet like the spirit of truth, but the spirit of truth will permeate all men's souls. A gift, you have to choose to accept the gift.
Right.
You have to choose to see truth. And if you can't make that decision, well, the gift of discernment is going to help you to see the truth better. But if you still want to deny the truth, this is where the insanity is going to come into play. Is because, I mean, I've always sat there and wondered how. And sometimes you only get told things after it happens. I mean, Q's famous for that too. And so then now I find out that this is actually like I was told that there will be mass insanity, but I'm just like, how? I mean, people can't be that fucked up. I mean, I find that difficult to believe. But then when you couple that with the spirit or with the gift of discernment, yeah, okay, yeah, you might have some people go insane because they're going to see the truth. Their mind is going to deny it, and what the hell do you think is going to happen? It's going to fracture their personality. And you know, I mean, we've all watched enough. I don't know. I've watched enough sci-fi, read enough sci-fi, comic books. Yeah, you know, that's how the Mad Professor is created. a split, and you know, some of these people are gonna get violent. A lot of these people are gonna get fucking violent. Like it's like the expression of that stress.
Yeah.
Is going to be violent.
And yeah, I don't want to say it, but you think we've had riots in, say, American cities so far?
It's like
stuff like that's gonna maybe, you know, it'll have to happen, but it's gonna hurt. Unless there's another way. I don't know. There could still be, but there'll be some of that, I think, that we're going to see.
Well, you see, I had almost hesitate to say it, because I did have a vision of armies mowing down almost like zombie-like creatures.
Yeah. I can see that.
And I'm just like, oh man, I hope there's no humans in there. But they were basically mowing down animals. I'm just like, wow. It's like, that's fucked. That's just a fucked thing to see.
Yeah, but the people I've interacted with online, I can see it because they, for whatever reason, as much as we are invested in what we, I guess, have bet on as being the truth, and we are sure that it is, they bet on something else, and
Yeah,
there is entrenched.
And
And
it's
some of them are
entrenched.
going to be able to come over or be neutral about it, but there's going to be, yeah, I've dealt with some people who are, yeah.
I know myself. I always try to always try to look at things in a discerning way. I'm always afraid that my own biases is going to interfere with my judgment or my discernment. But it's like, over the last year, I'm just like, there's been so much that has happened and so much that has been proven that I'm just like, my first instinct seems to be the good one.
Yeah, at a certain point, and not on everything, but for certain things or for certain sources, let's say, I made a decision that most of the stuff, I'm going to kind of run everything that I get from even those sources through my filter, but a lot of it does seem to be legit, or if it's kind of strange, I'll think, oh, well, maybe it'll be explained a little bit later on.
Yeah, I mean, like the watermarks on the ballot. I mean, I want it to be true, but my wanting it to be true doesn't make it true.
Right.
And so I want to be careful not to just like go down that rabbit hole with all of this hope that it's true, and it's just like, no, let's just, so it's not something that you can take into account in the equation, because you really can't prove whether it's true or false.
Yeah, so you just come back to
Although
pay attention to what's going on.
although, like I said
positive.
before, if they didn't do something like that on ballots,
Okay.
which is like super simple. I mean, all of our checks have watermarks on them. Money has watermarks on them. Fuck, I mean, I've gotten corporate letters with watermarks on it, just so that it came from a corporate office. So pay the fuck attention. So yeah, I mean, if things like that can be done with watermarks, it seems awfully incompetent to me that it would not be done with legal ballots. Right. Although there was one video where Buddy did kind of show it in the light, and with a blue light, he was able to show a slight reflection on the paper.
Okay. Yeah, because I looked at mine, and it didn't, like a watermark on a check or a fancy piece of stationery. It didn't appear obviously to have anything like that. But yeah, I bet if you scanned it with some kind of other beam or whatever, different color light or a laser X-ray or who knows what, it's possible there'd be something that'd show up. I don't know.
Well, I mean, to me it would make sense, because we're just going to print ballots on any old piece of paper. That seems pretty ridiculous to me. I mean, we're talking about a presidential election. It would seem to make sense to me that in the very least the ballot is printed on a special type of paper.
Yeah.
And that can be authenticated as either being forged or not. Regardless of the sophistication of the forgery.
Yeah.
There should be a way to see it. I mean, we do it with money all the time. But anyways, that I didn't want to get my hopes up on, so I only looked at what was going on the surface, what we're what's going on in the courts and everything like that, and even the shit that's going on in the courts is showing that things aren't what they appear to be. And so it's like, wow. I was like, regardless of what we think is going on in the background, there's some fucking crazy shit going on in the foreground. And so we don't want to be, diving down rabbit holes and not pay attention to what's going on right in front of our eyes, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, the gift of discernment, you got to decide that yourself. So there's insanity right off the bat for people that can't move past it. And, yeah, and Yeah, they still want people. They still want to push their communist agenda hard on us, and I'm just like, why? I mean, what purpose does that serve? What purpose does it serve that people can't have ownership of anything? What purpose does it serve to not let people just enjoy their life? I mean, what the fuck? It's like they just want us all to stay in our houses and play video games. What does that serve? I can't even imagine how that serves a society.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, the only thing that it could possibly serve is loosh, maybe. That's the only thing that comes into my head. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, they want us to give off a certain vibe that's kind of negative or helpless or whatever.
Mm.
So,
why?
yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm always asking. Why? I mean, these people are fucking stupid. It's you destroy a society. What are you in charge of now?
They're falling. Let's see. They lost the control of their masters. Now they're going on with some kind of inertia. That's all.
Lots of inertia. I mean, they got like 500 years of inertia.
Yeah. They're continuing the plan, even though they don't have direction anymore, because it's all they know, or they want to have control over other people or something. So.
But I think the plan has told them that there's some kind of paradise on the other side for them. Maybe fucking 70 virgins for all I fucking know. But you brought up a good point. It's they are continuing on with the plan, but because they don't have their supernatural masters, they don't know how to correct the plan. I mean, you can't just. I mean, I'll tell you right now. I mean, I've been involved in construction my whole life. Yeah, we put down a plan on the piece of paper. Hell, we got the whole plan on the wall of the trailer. Break ground. Cement shows up. Fucking walls go up on this day. Insulation, wiring on this day. Plumbing, insulation. Everything is laid out so that we know when people are going to be on site. I'll tell you, 2 or 3 rain dates, and that whole fucking thing's gone to shit. And now we've got to scramble. We've got to figure out some shit. Now we're looking at fucking pulling guys in on the weekends. So that's extra fucking time, extra money.
And unless you have a good manager running that plan, you're going to be weeks or months behind if you miss some kind of date for getting a cement truck in someplace and then it rains for 2 weeks. It
was not a job that I wanted. No, and you're right. I mean, and then if things are not prepared properly, this was always my favorite, and it's happened to me more than once. You back your fucking 3-ton truck into a gravel or into a construction site. You figure you got your time figured out. Okay, I've got like 30 minutes to unload all this shit, fucking tie everything fucking back down, get my truck ready, and get the fuck out of here. 30 minutes, and then I'm heading off to my next spot, and I've got fucking appointments, and I got to keep rolling. Yeah, one tire sinks in the mud. Guess what 30 minutes turned into? 90 minutes. Trying to get the fuck out of there. Everybody's stuck now. Well, guess what? There went all my appointments in the day, just out the fucking window. Done. And guess what happened to their day at the construction site? Half of their day just went out the fucking window because you can't be sitting, you can't be running all your equipment around half-empty propane tanks sitting on a truck. So they got to get me off site so that they can continue on with their work, but they can't do their work because there's an explosive hazard on site. That was a good job. That sucked. I got $80,000 a year for danger pay. Man, that job sucked. I was never scared. I just fucking hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
And I just realized something because we were talking about these the mortals and their demon masters, whatever, let's say, and them dropping the ball, and it just registered on me that if they had, because I was thinking, even up until yesterday, it still hadn't been supplanted that over the last couple hundred years, humans came up with this by themselves, this master plan, New World Order. No, no, they didn't. So I'm thinking, so they're doubly screwed. They don't have their leadership, and they have to, they haven't had really maybe experience personally fixing screw ups this big like are happening to them. So they lost their leadership, and they don't have a backup.
No, they have no backup. No, and
which makes our job easier.
Which makes our job easier, and the backups that they are coming up with have all blown up in their faces. The whole
like Biden going on the day after the election and starting to say whatever he's going to say, like he's the president of the United States. Trump has 2 more months, folks, legitimately.
Yeah, it's like these people are so goddamn stupid that they've forgotten how the system works. I mean, he's only been in the system for 47 fucking years, and he doesn't know how it works? Holy fuck, how stupid are these people? And, you want to see what direction humans were heading in without outside influence? Pre-1500. Or sorry, pre-1400.
Pre-1400, like 1350 or so and before.
Yeah, anything before 1400. Anything before that. That is the direction. So when you look at what we were actually doing at that time, we had a pretty good we were starting to build a pretty good economy. Yeah. A pretty decent one. And then all of a sudden, and we were, when was the Magna Carta signed?
1450, was it? I don't know what century. Yeah.
I think it was I think it was early 14th century.
13 something.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but yeah, 14th century is 1300s because of, so you got to discern 1300s versus 13th century, which is 1200s.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, let's say like 1425 or something.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know, but I know that it was in and around that area.
Quite early, actually.
Yeah, and the pit was not opened up until after 1450.
Yeah.
So, a Magna Carta is signed. So that gives you an indication of where we were heading. King gave up his power. In Scotland, a king made it against the law. I think it was almost capital punishment, or for houses to battle each other. He outlawed that revenge crime. That's what it was. Yes, revenge crime. He outlawed revenge crime. If like your family member was killed, then the person that killed them, they were to they were punished, and the family was forced to pay that other family. So that got rid of the clan wars. Yeah. So
the family of the person who killed the other person. Right. Yeah.
So money started. So now you're hitting people's pocketbooks. So now people stop killing each other because they didn't want to deal with the fines. If they didn't pay the fines, then they ended up in jail. Now they just lost everything. So now the clan wars, they stopped. So how helpful is that? So all of this stuff was progressing smoothly. I mean, I dare say that by the 15th century, we would have our contact with the Native Americans would have went a lot smoother.
Yeah,
a lot smoother, and if that had have happened, then again our European style of doing things would have been put on the First Nations, and then the First Nations would have put their spin on democracy. Yeah. And so then we would have a more unified thing going on there. The tribes are at each other's throats in North America and South America. all the Americas, they were at each other's throats all the fucking time. If you were out hunting and you went on another tribe's territory and you got caught, you were fucked. Like, harshly fucked. I mean, they killed you ceremoniously. And the other tribe either accepted or they went to war. You know, depending on their strengths. So, I mean, that's the kind of shit that was going on all the time. And I think that if that had been a smooth transition, which no doubt if there was no interference from demons, it would have been. And so we had 1,000 years without interference, and we got to Magna Carta. So, you know, another 1,000 years after that, we'd be out in our solar system by now. I mean, I personally, I think we're 100 years behind schedule. Yeah. I mean, the technology to go into orbit would have been available in the 1900s if mankind was focused. And if mankind was focused, there was enough technology that we could have got started. I mean, we were building fucking submarines at that time.
I hit the wrong button. Oh well, we'll just we'll go. We got the phone, so we'll just keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we mine's videoing over here too. Okay. So yeah, the material, everything was available. I mean, we were learning about uranium. We were getting pretty fucking good at it.
In the 1800s even.
Yeah.
Learning all this stuff.
Learning all this stuff. They had the internal combustion engine, both diesel and gas, at that time. So, I mean, we had power. We had these engines doing work for us. But there was no way, nobody was, like, it didn't go into common usage. Yeah. Because the diesel engine was mainly made for mining operations. You know, they had the coin. They could afford to buy these engines to run their pumps and mainly pumps. And then one clever guy decided to put some wheels under an engine, but he had to make it smaller using the same principles. He fitted it into a car. And, I mean, the first car was like 1850 or some fucking thing like that. And so, but it was not in wide use, mainly in Europe. And people were using them. But gasoline, well, I mean, it was a byproduct of other things that they were using petroleum for. So they were using that. Gasoline was being thrown out at the end of the day, for fuck's sakes. And then this is where capitalism becomes a beautiful thing. Henry Ford, do you think for a second Henry Ford would have wasted his time with designing a automobile if he wasn't going to make money off of it? I mean, right?
No, certainly not.
No, I mean, Henry Ford's number one motivation, because he was smart. He was smart like my grandfather. His philosophy was the same thing as my grandfather's philosophy. It is much easier to get $1 million from 1 million different people than it is to get $1 million from just a few.
Yes.
And that is what Henry Ford was thinking. He was thinking, I'm going to make myself a cheap-ass car that anybody can afford, and I'm going to sell as many as I can. And he built an empire from that. Simple concept.
Okay, way back. We had a interruption for a second, but we're going to continue for another few minutes. Okay, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and so what he did is he got smart. Instead of trying to build each car individually, he created an assembly line, cut down on cost, started making all the pieces all the same. all the same tolerances. He learned that from Remington, I think.
Yep.
That, this is why, the Remington gun, it's all interchangeable. At that time, that was a fucking breakthrough in technology. To be able to have fucking 3 guns sitting inside in front of you that don't work, but, but they have various parts that still do.
Yeah,
So
pull all 3 of them apart, check the parts, put one together that of all those parts that work. That was a phenomenon at that time. Now, of course, you can easily do it with anything, but
yeah. And that made all the difference in the Civil War. Made all the difference in both world wars. It makes all the difference today.
Interchangeable parts.
Interchangeable parts. You know how many fucking guns get wrecked out in the field? Dropping them, smashing them against rocks, having the barrels bend because you got it fucking caught somewhere. Fucking shit happens all the time. And, and it's nothing to fucking keep a spare firing pin in your pack. I mean, what, you think these guys are stupid? I mean, firing pins wear out, especially on a machine gun. And, you don't want to be fucking somewheres fucking, and the only thing that's, the only reason that you're going to fuck, that you're fucked is because of a firing pin, when it's such a bottom of the pack. That's where it stays. If I need it, I'll fish that cocksucker out, hiding in a fucking cave somewheres, and get my rifle working so I can get the hell out of there. Oh yeah, shit like that. No, fucking stuff like that happens all the time. It's a big fucking deal to have interchangeable parts. And that is a huge breakthrough in technology. And we had that at the turn of the 20th century. And I have no doubt that we would have been flying far, far before that. I mean, Da Vinci was already had fancy ideas of flying. And, if the church wasn't such dicks towards him, he probably would have created a flying machine. But he was he was terrified of the church all the time. Everything that he did, he wondered, what the church was going to do to him. I mean, but once he got past a certain age, like all of us, we just don't give a fuck anymore. We've had our fill of it. And, for Da Vinci, he was well in his age before he'd had his fill of it. But for the most part, he did what the Vatican told him to do, and that's how he survived. And, and there's tons of clever men like him. I mean, how many fucking scientists had to fucking go before a fucking religious convention or
in like religious like in the 1600s or whatever, they had the Vatican and all that. So we had just so we can outline the thing in 1400s we had this detour where we had the thing with the demons, and then humanity got kind of sidetracked into all this conquest and ego stuff, and also what we were talking about in the Halloween specials. And so for a couple hundred years we didn't do as much advancement as there was some, but not.
There was a lot of digging into the past during that time. Why? Because these fuckers were looking for the Fallen's original books.
That's right. Yeah. So they instead of humanity developing its technology forward, these demons were having the humans that they were dealing with that basically stopped. They had them go look backwards into the past for all this stuff that they wanted.
And for the longest time,
so it's
most technology, and if you look at the evolution of technology, most technology coming up through that era was geared towards mining and archaeology. See how the two are interchangeable? And all of that's where the technology was focused on. Vehicles and everything. It was all for that purpose.
Wow.
And then something happened in the late 18th century to where these fuckers figured out that there was something on the moon. And so they needed us to progress fast. Actually, funny thing is Doctor Who actually did an episode like this.
Oh, did it?
Oh yeah, but not as deep as what we're going. But they mainly kept to like around the moon landing. But it's like it's everything leading up through the 20th century. How our push for technology and pushing it forward. I have no doubt that they went to that they got to the moon and they found what they were looking for. And I think that it had a lot to do with a lot of the technology that we're using today. But they couldn't. They can't tell us how to build things. They can only give us ideas, and then we go and figure it out, and stuff like that. And the information that they got back from the moon, and it was just information, showed them how they could various ways to store information, and a more in-depth look at how electrons flow and all of that good stuff. And we were already getting a good grasp of that. I mean, the transistor was made way before we went to the moon, but it was a fundamental part of us getting to the moon. So they brought back all that information from the moon, and there must have been a lot of it because they were back and forth quite a bit. And they got all of that stuff back here, and they started unpacking it. And this is, and when you see all the stuff that starts to happen with the internet and communications, it all starts to, and especially computers. And and the idea was for them, see, they were always hampered by not being able to communicate instantaneously with each other. They were always hampered. And so you cannot have a complex plan without communication. And so they wanted to implement a complex plan of world domination. That means you need instantaneous communication, or a local region could end up tearing the government apart in that area, and you might not know for a week. And by that time, you know, they've already gone to the next fucking city and recruited that one and destroyed that government. Next thing you know, you've got a problem. So, so they needed instantaneous communication, and that is a lot of what came out of going to the moon. And so, I mean, before that, they were using punch cards and stuff like that, but they needed better stuff. They needed to know how to do crystals and stuff like that, and other artifacts that they wanted to bring back. And so they built the internet, but the problem was with the internet is it required human interaction. And when people used the internet in university, because that was their main source of influence and recruitment, a lot of these people, when they left the university, didn't stop using that internet. Because they built their computers in the university as part of their thesis or part of their graduation thing. And the professors, they don't know the plan. They don't know what the fuck's going on. All they got is they got a talented student wants to build a computer. They're letting them, right? And the materials being available because of the space race, that helped push all of that too. And so all of these things all come together, and next thing you know, we're in the 80s. Now, computers are becoming more commonplace, but not enough to interfere. And also, they believe that they have control over the over everything. And then people, where they really lost control is when people started learning how to code. And when computers left the era of having everything hard programmed into them, it started using more programming instead of chips for programming. Now we're using hard disks and we're using line code to tell all this stuff what to do. That is when they lost control. Because clever people are going to do clever things. And then you have people, students leaving university and leaving things on the university servers. So now they still have access. And then a guy like Steve Jobs comes along. And he's pretty clever, and he starts making his thing. But he's getting a lot of flack. Like, he's really having a hard time getting this dream of his off the ground. And meanwhile, you got this guy named Bill Gates, who goes around Steve Jobs with his own design. Now, Bill Gates, he doesn't design his shit in the U.S. He has his shit manufactured overseas. By the time the enemy knew what the fuck Bill Gates was doing, again, communication is a fucking hindrance. By the time they figured out what Bill Gates was doing in 1980 or 1994 or 1993, it was already too late. He showed up on a stage with a bunch of computers around him and sold tens and thousands of them in one day. Because he made them cheap. Just like Henry Ford. And since Bill Gates was a greedy fucker and he wanted to make sure that he could make money, every piece of software he did was licensed. And now that shit's locked up. Tight. So now, what do you do? You got this greedy little fucker. He ain't letting go of anything. You got nothing on him because he's just a fucking snot-nosed kid. What do you do? Well, what they did do took years because they have to be subtle. They can't just be overt, not like they are right now. They had to be subtle. They didn't want to tip their hand. And they slowly subverted Bill Gates over time. I would say that they probably had him completely subverted well within 10 years of him releasing Windows 95. And then that is when they could start getting into the code and start changing it and start using it for themselves. But again, there's still a problem. Is because now you have other platforms popping up. Not everybody is on the same platform anymore. So while you might be able to manipulate one platform, you can't do it to all of them. Because there's just a lot of people that just don't trust Microsoft. So that's where Apple comes in. So now you got to subvert that company. And then even if you've subverted them, now you've got a problem with open source platforms like Linux and Oracle and shit like that. And they're very good at circumventing a lot of stuff. And so now slowly everything gets out of control. And then you have third party software like browsers like Brave and shit like that. There's no control over them because they're building their platforms on open source code. And what do you do with that? And now we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin has really fucked everything up because now you can have information stored on a blockchain and nobody can fuck with it. And that is going to play a big part in the future, people. Okay. A huge, huge part.
We'll be coming back to that. So we're going to wrap it up for here.
I think we should. I think we've bored everybody long enough.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. And take care out there.
Salute. Mm-hmm.